Welcome back to another edition of Wrestling Moments that live rent-free in our heads. And the moment I'll be talking about today is the sale of World Championship Wrestling. In the 1990s, there were two organizations that put the professional wrestling industry in a stranglehold. That was Vincent Kennedy McMahon's World Wrestling Federation, now known as World Wrestling Entertainment, and Ted Turner's World Championship Wrestling. Yeah, purposely I didn't put ECW in there because they were a glorified regional promotion. So they couldn't hang with the two fucking big boys. They didn't even weren't even an existential threat. How do people not fucking get that by now? ECW is like that weird kid in school that you just didn't necessarily hate, but you kind of tolerated, but didn't let him in your group, and you would just tell him to go practice falling down. Except that he actually fucking did though. WWF and WCW were bored, so they checked in on the weird kid, and they're just he's got some good ideas. WCW in the early 90s was kind of a southern thing, and it was wrestling like my dad and grandpa used to call it. But it was built off the backs of Ric Flair, Sting, Lex Luger, the Steiner brothers, Ron Simmons, Vader, just to name a few. But it wasn't until Eric Bischoff became the president of WCW that things started to really pick up. And that's right around the time that Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage came a knock. I imagine the conversation between Hogan, Savage, and Bischoff's just yeah, and then I was there, and then they were sorry, we're going in another direction. We really like the guy who wears a lot of pink and sunglasses indoors for some reason, and then another guy who dresses in fucking sex slave BDSM with hearts on it. I don't know, beats the shit out of me. And Eric Bischoff, being the forward-thinking guy he was yeah, that's dumb as fuck. I don't know why they're doing that, but you come over here, and we don't do that kind of shit, and you can have as much money as you want, and creative control over your storylines. Hogan, being the selfless human being that he is, was Hulk Hogan, we coming for you! Yeah, no, cool. That's great, I'll do that. I just need to finish this really shitty movie called Assault on People's Eyes in the TV series Thunder Cunts. It's called what? Oh, Assault on Devil's Island and Thunder in Paradise. Huh. Yeah. I was fucking way off. Huh. And of course, Hogan, being the humble human being that he is, took a whole entire parade after he inked the deal with, balloons and cars and motorcycles, And Macho Man, when he came over, it was kind of oh, hey, yeah. Oh, yeah, we knew you'd come eventually. Anyway, yeah, here's we have a half a cake left. That's all we have.
I offer you a nice egg in this trying time.
Anyway, Hulkamania kind of runs its course in WCW. Fans are getting older. The golden era kids are growing up and are part of that whole 90s counterculture, anti-establishment, yada, yada, yada. I'm mad at my dad kind of vibe.
You're mad at your dad, mad at me. I forgive you.
And being the forward thinker that he is, Eric Bischoff decided it's time to get a little bit edgy and enlist the help of one Scott Hall, a.k.a. Razor Ramon, Kevin Nash, a.k.a. Big Daddy Cool Diesel, to form what does everybody know now as the New World Order. Which ultimately was cool for a while. They had 50 people in the NWO at one point, and they're just beating the shit out of everybody, and they're just interrupting matches that wasn't even really involved. They weren't even involved with, had nothing to do with them. But on the other side of that, some really good wrestling was going on. You had the cruiserweight division with your Chris Jerichos and your Psychosis and your Juventud Guerreros and your Rey Mysterios and your Eddie Guerreros and your Chavo Guerreros. I can go on. Oh yeah, and that fucking Goldberg guy that was just destroying everybody and had a crazy win streak. Yeah, he caught fire. That kind of helped the ratings. WCW was also kicking the shit out of WWE in ratings, 83 weeks straight, which is unprecedented because At the time, it was literally unheard of and no one expected it. Ultimately, WWE woke the fuck up. They decided to use edgy programming and steal a bunch of ideas from WCW and ECW. Check back what I said earlier in the video. That. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have the careers of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Mankind, and WCW's own Chris Jericho Y2J. Warner Brothers and Turner Broadcasting went and merged, and Ted Turner was kind of out of it. So the pencil neck geeks at the newly minted Time Warner didn't give a shit about wrestling. So once they stopped giving a shit, so did the wrestlers. But also the money stopped coming. That's why you had things like Judy Bagwell on a forklift match, or the finger poke of doom, or David Arquette winning the WCW championship. Ratings tanked, Time Warner couldn't handle it anymore, so Vincent Kennedy McMahon came calling.
I own WCW.
Once Vince claimed ownership, Shane showed up on the last telecast of Monday Nitro. Storyline, buying WCW with Stephanie following suit and buying ECW. Then prompting probably one of the worst fucking angles of all time, the invasion story, where it was just a bunch of fucking B-list WCW guys and then ECW guys. So, yeah, that was a fucking debacle. Then that fizzled out. Then WCW was dead. Finally taken behind JR's woodshed and shot. Matt, you oval-faced fuck, thought you said you were going to talk about why it lives rent-free in our head. Well, this is the very special portion and episode of this video. Cue the Full House very special episode music. It lives rent-free in our head because every time we see or look at anything remotely talking about WCW, we remember the good old days, but we also remember what it should have been. And every time we see a wrestler from that era, whether it's on social media, TV, or in person, we think, man, what a simpler time. You think, what if? And it hurts. It hurts that it could have been more. We all knew it could have been more. But corporate greed shut it down. Corporate greed won in the end. But we always think, what if it never folded? What if it drove on? We'll never know. And that's why it hurts the most. And that's why it lives rent-free in our head. Hit that subscribe and like.